Now, the East African Community Regional Force has begun its withdrawal from the Democratic Republic of Congo. A first group of around 100 Kenyan soldiers from the regional force left from Goma airport bound for Nairobi on Sunday. The EAC force was deployed in November last year after the resurgence of the M23 rebel group in the eastern DRC. The troops were tasked with freeing areas held by the rebels at the time. However, Kinshasa later deemed the force ineffective. Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi accused the force of tolerating the rebels rather than forcing them to surrender. A year after its deployment, the EAC announced in Kinshasa would not be renewing the mandate of the regional force. For a deeper look into this, we have with us Fred David Egesa, a regional security analyst, joining us live via Zoom from Kampala in Uganda. Thank you very much, Fred, for your time. What is your take on the DRC's relationship with the EAC regional forces that has now forced the EAC troops' departure? Where did things begin to go wrong?
Good afternoon. What we have to understand is that the relationship between Congo and possibly the East African communities, as far as security is concerned, is only about 1 year, because they just joined the East African community about, I think it's now a year. And you know, this is a kind of a fragile relationship. They had not been, it has been a situation that would have been given time to blossom and strengthen and get strengthened. Because as you may be aware, the countries that comprise of the East African communities, that is Uganda, Burundi, that is Rwanda, and possibly Tanzania, especially Rwanda and Uganda, we had issues with the Congo for several years. That did not kind of build a relationship. We're just trying to build a relationship, so Congo cannot entirely trust the East African community, just because we have had interests in terms of insurgents launching from Congo. And even I remember that at one time, Uganda and Rwanda combined the force that moved in, and they got involved in the political situation of Congo and ended up overthrowing the government there. So literally, the government of Congo, as much as it may want the economic relationship with East Africa, they cannot fully trust the East African force, just because they believe that they may have double standards, or they may still have interest in several of their areas.
Right, so the M23 rebels prefer the involvement of the EAC regional forces, while the DRC government wants the South African Development Community forces. What are the dynamics here, and how is this likely to impact the conflict in Eastern DRC going forward?
Of course, depending on how one looks at it, because I think Congo thinks that the involvement of, like if you're pulling the Rwanda's forces or Uganda's forces deeply, they still believe that being the neighbors who have been walking in and out of Congo backyard, and other interests may come up that may greatly affect the internal politics of Congo, because there are many, you know, Uganda has been a receiving center of so many refugees who come from Congo with several intentions, some of which could even be overthrowing the government of Congo. So even Rwanda. So that's, I think, in such a situation that they are moving into a political arena, it may possibly, they are suspicious that Uganda or maybe Congo, maybe Southern Sudan may end up getting interest and may end up getting directly involved because by use of force, and then upset the political situation in Congo.
Now, this EAC troops withdrawal is happening just days to the elections in the country. How could it affect the polls?
Yeah, of course, Congo is trying to strengthen their political pillars, most especially the incumbent government, because, like they are trying to send out a message to say, we do not trust a big force which we have just come into contact with. We would rather deal with SADC, because SADC has been with us for many years, and maybe there are several relationships which can help them, which can create, which has kind of build trust between SADC and Congo. But for the East African community, for the East African force, as you can see, Sudan with its own problems, that Southern Sudan has a young force. Their force is not as organized, so and they can be swayed or they can fall on any side depending on what political dynamics may be in Congo.